Hello. Let's try that again, shall we? Hello and welcome to the next Lukozer retro game review video. And for this one it is the Muncher. And as you may have gathered from my review of the movie monster game, giant monster movies are something of a specialist subject of mine. It's also a subject that's, a film genre that I am a huge fan of. So whilst the movie monster game was a bit of a disappointment, I was on the lookout for something that may be a bit more appealing, and good old Leyden pointed this one out to me. I had never heard of this game. I certainly didn't have it back in the day, and yeah, this is much better. This is well, I'll tell you what, let's show you. So we'll start at stage 1. It is just one player. I prefer using keys for this game, so let's get on with it. Unfortunately it is a multi-load, but not to begin with. So here you are as the Muncher himself, who is supposed to resemble Godzilla, but I find he doesn't really. In fact, not at all. Now, there are some issues. You do have to get an awful long way across the screen before it starts to scroll. As you can see, I mean, you're practically right at the very edge of the screen before it scrolls there. I'm also doing terribly here. I'm missing everything. Okay, at last I got one. You're supposed to try and grab these people and eat them. Right, there we go. Doing a bit better now. And we need to try and eat these soldiers who are trying to kill me. Not doing a very good job of that either. Now the controls are, they can be a bit confusing at first. There are quite a few controls to try and remember. There's various different things you can do once you have the fire button pressed. And you need to get into the habit of pressing the fire button before you actually try and do any of the other controls. For example, eating these various people, because the Muncher himself is a bit slow moving, as you would perhaps expect given his size. Graphically, I mean, okay, when the main sprite is this big, you're going to think it looks terrible, but I think that given the size of the main sprite, I think they look fine. I've got no problem with it. So although at the moment I'm a bit limited in what I'm doing, I've just picked up an egg. Now that egg will come in useful later on, because if you pick up an egg and deposit it in a radiation site, and you'll find radioactive waste strangely scattered about all over the place for some reason. You can then use that as a respawn point when you inevitably lose a life. Your health is shown by the bar at the bottom there with hits. Every time you eat something, it gets you some of your hit points back, because it does help if you're able to actually eat something. The only time that there's an exception to that is if you eat a water truck. You don't want to eat those. But if you eat a petrol truck, you get the ability to fire fireballs. Now, you can only launch 5 fireballs before you need to effectively refuel by eating more petrol trucks. But that's, well, I've never found myself running out of them. But I mean, I can show you what one looks like. Here we go. There it is, and that causes quite a bit of devastation to that building. And as you turn and your tail swishes, it causes damage to the buildings behind. There's another egg, but I don't think I can do anything with that. We'll use a fireball to get rid of that bloody... I'm in a bad way here. I don't know if I'm going to even make it up level 1. That will be quite cringingly embarrassing if that happens. Yeah, I can't pick up the egg here because I've already got one. Yeah, those guys who were following along were okay, I've made it to the end of that level and I didn't find a radioactive thing, so I don't have a respawn point. However, I've made it level 2 anyway, and that means that I will then restart on level 2. So, okay, she ran straight past me. Now I do have a habit of losing. There's a petrol truck there, so now I've got my 5 fireballs back. And that's me down. Unfortunately you only get the 1 life, so that is game over. So I mean, the game is quite tricky. I mean, I'm finding it tricky because this is the first time I've ever played it. Well, that go I've just had is only the 2nd go I've ever had of the game. So I didn't have it back in the day, and up until only about a few days ago, just after I posted my review of the Movie Monster game, I wasn't even aware of the existence of this game. But I'm suitably impressed. I think this is great. This is the game that the Movie Monster game should have been. It's certainly a lot better than Movie Monster game. It is a lot more difficult, it's a lot more challenging, and there is a lot more to do. It's also faster paced, despite the fact that your monster may look like it's not moving all that quickly. You know, don't worry about that. You won't find it too slow when you're actually moving around. One thing I kept forgetting to do was, as you can see on the demo here, you can grab hold of the side of buildings and climb up them and damage the buildings and everything else. So it has that sort of rampage sort of gameplay style to it as well. It's not quite as fast paced as Rampage, but it has that feature there. So audibly it's no great shakes. The sounds are pretty forgettable, the music is crap. Graphically I think it's perfectly fine. It's not, you know, again it's not superb, but I think the main sprite, given that it is, you know, just your giant sprite, and therefore it is going to look a bit blocky, but I think that it looks fine. You know, I've got no problem with how it looks. Given the size of it, I think, you know, it's more than okay that it just happens to look a bit on the blocky side. And gameplay wise it's challenging, there is a lot to do, but the game plays extremely well. If you are a fan of giant monster movies as I am, this is definitely a game you will want and you will like it. I have no doubt about that. So what do I score it? I will give this 8 out of 10 and say that yeah, if you're a fan of monster movies, you will definitely want to give this a try. If you're not, you probably still want to give it a try actually, because it is quite a different sort of game. And well, like I say, the only games I know of that are in any way similar to it are Rampage, but that gets a bit repetitive. This has a bit more to it. And the Movie Monster game, which it was just extremely disappointing. I think I overrated it quite a bit in my review. It didn't deserve the score I gave it at all. So yeah, of those 3 games, this is by far the best one. So there you go, that is the Muncher, 8 out of 10. And that brings this video to an end. We'll see you at the next one.